South Korea's right-wing leader, Yoon Suk-yeol, is demanding nuclear weapons for his nation. And this demand has rocked the country's ties with the US. As per a report published by Foreign Affairs, some US experts are floating the idea of exposing South Korea to crippling economic sanctions. South Korea now has two options. Either it keeps pleasing the US or it saves its security interests. You see, South Korea is a highly vulnerable nation. It has a giant nuclear powered enemy sitting right in the north, yet its security is majorly controlled by US. It has survived so far on USA's mercy. Even today, it is hoping that US will deploy its own nuclear arsenal to defend South Korea. But this perception in South Korea is fast changing because now North Korea is said to have developed ICBMs and weapons that can reach even US. North Korea has allegedly developed thermonuclear weapons. 10 years back, defending South Korea required the US to risk the lives of US military personnel, a high price but one that Washington was willing to pay. Today, defending South Korea risks the loss of several US cities. So, South Koreans are now obviously worried. US might leave South Korea hanging in balance once a war with North Korea breaks out. The idea of having nukes of their own is extremely popular among South Koreans. Nearly 75% of them believe it is time for South Korea to ditch US security umbrella and erect one of its own. So in January this year, President Yoon Suk issued a bombshell statement. He said South Korea would consider building nuclear weapons of its own. It is no secret that Seoul is kept in the dark by Washington over its nuclear use policy, and this has left South Korea annoyed and livid. And here is how US is reacting to South Korea's nuclear ambition. It is threatening Seoul with sanctions. US experts are saying it will violate the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty or NPT. It will destabilize East Asia and it will force US to impose economic sanctions. Days later, after this reaction from US, Yoon Suk firmly took a U-turn and declared that his nation did not need its own nuclear arsenal. It appears like South Korean nukes will harm America more than China or North Korea. And it is obvious too. US will lose control over Seoul as soon as it develops a nuclear bomb of its own. South Korea will no longer require USA's security guarantees. Simply speaking, USA will lose South Korea forever. US loves to dictate and control its allies through various tools. It controls Europe and Canada through NATO. It controls Japan through its pacifist constitution and the infamous Article 9. It once aspired to control India through Quad, but that effort failed miserably. As the threat of a nuclear war keeps getting bigger for South Korea, it will soon feel the need for ditching its alliance with US and taking the reins in its own hands. South Korea will soon become a nation with its own nukes and also the newest enemy of the US.